is the reason that right after Rebecca and I got married, and I took the oath to be a member of the Pennsylvania House, that we went and had a beautiful invitation to be in the Philippines and introduce Rebecca before our 4 children to the other half of my culture. And it was a beautiful trip. It reminded me of the specialness of being a Filipino American. I have never been more proud to be a Filipino American. This presidential race is very difficult because a political party does not always speak for the candidate, and the candidate doesn't always speak for the political party. And this year is one which is so strange for those of us who joined the Republican Party because of issues like human rights. I became a Republican really for one major reason, because I believe, like 100% of Filipino Americans, that every child deserves the right to life, whether you are born or unborn. Now that used to be something not controversial in America. But what has become controversial about that is that somehow we have in America pursued human rights for categories of people, but the idea of universal human rights, which we still honor in the Philippines by law and by tradition, has only been endorsed and embraced by small segments of the Democratic Party and small and larger segments of the Republican Party. So I became a Republican because of that issue. Because I joined the party that freed the slaves. I joined the party that became the conscience in the 1960s, that the liberal Republicans of the Northeast, places like Pennsylvania, places like Massachusetts and Maine, who said to those Southern Democrats, your days are over. It's time to invite African Americans to be full participants in the promise of democracy. This is your right now, and you deserve to cash it in. I'm a Republican because Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican. That's my heritage. So when I hear Donald Trump speak the way he has about Filipinos, when I hear Donald Trump speak, and look, he's the nominee of the party, but I think Filipinos and Americans generally have to be able to separate loyalty to the party, because at some point, like John F. Kennedy once said, sometimes your political party asks too much. What we have been told in American politics is that there's a system, a two-party system, and it works this way. Bernie Sanders runs, Hillary Clinton runs, you have a spirited exchange of debates, you have strong convictions, but then for you, supporters of Bernie Sanders, or you supporters of Marco Rubio or some of the other Republican candidates, put all of those convictions in the attic, and 4 years later bring them back and have a debate again. But for now, don't be critical of your nominee. Don't be critical of your political party. Stand squarely inside the fold, because if we stand together, we'll be able to get more done. Here's why I think probably 90% of Filipino Americans identify with the Democratic Party. Why? Not on the basis of values, not on the basis of issues like taxation or entrepreneurship or the right to life. No, the reason that most Filipino Americans find comfort in the Democratic Party is because the Democratic Party opened its doors and said, you have a home here. And Filipino Americans, we've moved into the house. And most of us we take up residence. But we forget that this is a two-party system, that every 4 years or every 2 years or every 6 years, the balance of power shifts. And when Republicans are in charge, Filipinos are outside. When Democrats are in charge, Filipinos have a seat at the table. I think it would be a better thing for Filipinos to join the Democratic Party and join the Republican Party, but instead of leaving our values in the Philippines, let's bring them to the political debate here. We're having a very significant debate on major issues here, where we say, well, we'll leave our Filipino values there, on that side of the Pacific, but when it comes here, we'll play by the American rules. I don't want to elect a Duterte in the United States. This is painstaking, and I know we're in a room where diplomacy happens. But the years that the Consul General and others have worked so diligently to build the reputation of the Philippines. I know this is a palace that we probably can thank the First Lady, Imelda Marcos, for, but it doesn't speak for her. This is the prize on Fifth Avenue in New York of Filipino Americans, and we have finally found our place. Did you know that 90% plus of Filipino Americans have a positive view of the United States? We like America more than Americans who were born here like America. So when we have what plays out on the world stage happen this week, all of us who are Filipino Americans have to answer for that. So I, as a Republican, have to, unfortunately, for the next 60 days, and hopefully not much longer, be associated with the person at the top of the ticket. The question for me tonight is, and why I came, wasn't to endorse a political candidate, but to invite you to take a step back and look at the history of both political parties again. Not just because one party was kinder. Republicans have not been kind to Filipino Americans. They have, in many cases, not been kind to African Americans, not been kind to Latino Americans. They've been kind to entrepreneurship, people who work, and they've respected people who open businesses. But in terms of looking at Americans and saying, all Americans, you're welcome, we haven't done a good job. But I'm hoping that after the election, no matter who takes the oath of office, Filipinos go register Republican, and they may be split. Maybe the husband goes Republican, the wife, right? Doesn't mean that you can't vote for one party or the other. But I think it would be a shame if Filipinos who have almost, in many cases, stronger values, civic duty values, and care for our community, a stronger sense of community. This is not happening in many other communities in America. I want you to bring this to the Republican Party and help us reform it so that it looks more like America and less simply like a single party from a single region of America. That's why we're here tonight. And thank you so much for the invitation. I think we're going to have a wonderful